What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to give you guys my review of Astro Bot. Now, I know everybody's already out there. You know, the review scores are astronomically high, but I'm able to have played the game now, and boy, do I have a lot to say about it. I, of course, want to thank PlayStation for the review code. They actually gave it to me a day early. I got a slight head start, but not too much. I've been grinding in the background here the last maybe 24 hours playing a lot of this game. The game's a masterpiece, honestly, and, you know, it kind of kept elevating to me, and that's something I want to try to convey in this video. Like, look, the second you fire it up, you realize that this is a special game, right? And we're going to talk about some of the specifics of it, but the game just keeps getting better, and once you kind of recognize, like, different things the game is doing, it really does. Like, I thought going into it, like, this is going to be a special game, this is going to be a, you know, top 3, top 5 game of the year type game for me, you know, just my own personal game of the year list. This is going to be high, and just every level and every special level, right, when you get like the powers, and we'll talk a little bit about that, they're so unbelievably good. The game just has such a strong personality, on top of being an excellent platformer, on top of the love and respect for not just PlayStation, but I would say gaming. This game, and I guess the developers, they love gaming, and I can see that. I think anybody can see that, and I think that goes a long way, and that really should be, I would say, highly respected, because I don't think that happens every time. I almost feel sometimes developers, you don't know if they truly not even just love their game, but do they love games in general? These guys do. They truly do. So let's talk a little bit about it. Let's talk about the platforming part to it, because, you know, you can kind of get, you know, mixed in with all of these other, you know, features of the game. The platforming elements, like what the game actually is so good. And I would highlight here the diversity. I think this game just continues to do different things. Now, you get all these different powers. Sometimes there's returning powers, right, once you kind of see them all, but each level is so unique. The enemies, you know, while you're going around, and generally it doesn't take a lot to destroy these enemies, right? Even bosses. This game is not difficult. I can see speed running being difficult. I can see the challenge maps that we know they're going to add, you know, in DLC down the line. Like, that's going to be difficult. The game will have, and does have, I guess in some ways, challenge to it, right? In the same way that Astro's Playroom does. But, you know, at its core, you're not supposed to die like 50 times. There was a couple times I was dying a few times. I was like, man, I really should be better than this. But the game doesn't provide that big of a challenge, but you don't really care because you're smiling the whole freaking time, right? It throws new features at you, whether it's new ways, you know, to getting from one location to the next, or a new way of taking out an enemy, say with like the sponge power, or the backpack that shoots you straight up, right? Or actually there's another backpack that shoots you straight in the other direction. Like, there's just so much that this game throws at you organically, and everything just feels good. The game just feels good. Anytime like you shoot your lasers, right, to kind of glide over to something, like it just has that feel where you want to keep going, right? You want to beat these levels, you want to explore. That goes a little bit to like the love and respect, I would say, of gaming, but you know, you got all of the collectibles of each level, and all done just so well. You have like hidden worlds sometimes in a level, right, which will kind of unlock a world separately. You'll have hidden zones in a level that sometimes like a bot will be captured there, right? You got to save it. Like, there's so much to explore in any given level. Some levels, like the circle, triangle, you know, X square ones, those ones are straightforward. Those ones are a little bit challenging, actually, right? Because I don't think there's checkpoints on them, but like those ones are still a lot of fun because it's direct. It's like you actually might die a few times on those ones, and you get in and you get out, right? You're rescuing like one bot each time. And then there's the levels themselves. I mean, like when I got to the kind of casino, like the thief level, and you got Joker there, and you got Sly Cooper, you know, trapped. I mean, I stood and watched Sly Cooper just for a very long time. Like, some of these levels are unbelievable, and I would say just base levels, like your basic levels, are unbelievable. Then you get to like the God of War one, the Uncharted one. I mean, the Uncharted one almost changed my life. Okay, like I talk so much about Sly Cooper, but Uncharted is also almost tied with Sly as my favorite franchise. So Nathan Drake, and you know, just doing that level, they literally put freaking Uncharted into Astro Bot. And what I mean by that is you're doing things you do in Uncharted in Astro. You're saving Elena and Chloe and Sully and all these characters. Like, they went super far with these like special levels that I just couldn't believe it. And I actually said this a little bit with like my Beetlejuice review. I know, kind of like an odd thing, but I'll bring it up here. I've just been smiling the whole time, and that's almost hard to put into words. Like, I can tell you an emotion I had, right? But that's something this game gives me, is like happiness and joy. And again, some games don't actually do that. It's like, it's a mix of multiple different things, but when I am playing this game, you can play it seriously, you can play it kind of laid back, you can like listen to stuff on the side, although the soundtrack of this game is a freaking 10 out of 10, right? They have the specialty soundtrack, so like the Uncharted level has the Uncharted theme. But, just the basic soundtrack of Astro is awesome. And the sounds of the game are so unbelievably good. But you can play it in whichever way, and you're just happy. You're just smiling. You're just enjoying it. Again, there's maybe a little bit of a challenge, but you're kind of just taking it all in. There's just very few games, especially this year, that have done that to me. Like I go to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as kind of my game of the year. I mean, that game like changed me. That game really I don't know, it made an impact on me, right? But it's like I wasn't like loving it or like having a grand old time the whole time, especially at some parts of the story, right? Like, it makes you feel things. And I'm not saying one is necessarily better than the other, but it feels good to do an Astro Bot. It feels good to just smile and enjoy it the entire time without changing that smile to like sadness or anger or anything like that. It's just pure happiness the entire time. But I want to nail a couple other just features that I think really stand out with this game. I mentioned the sound. The sound in this game is tremendous, both coming from like the screen and then also your controller. I mean, what they do with the DualSense, they did it again. They pretty much have everything that they did in the first game, or I would say Astro's Playroom, right? Technically not the first Astro game, but everything that they did there with a DualSense controller is back, and it's actually done, I would say, a little bit more like fluid, like the monkey one where you're kind of climbing on the handles. I think it's done more organically in this game than it actually even was in Astro's Playroom, but you feel everything. If you're in water, if you're going on spikes, like rolling on a ball, if you're climbing up those handle things, the controller reacts, and I don't know just what they do with it, blowing into it, right? Basically, your controller is like a ship in and of itself, right? And just everything you feel. And I want to give major props for that, because I've said it time and time again. I said it when I did a video on Astro's Playroom on my third channel. These are games that push the controller to like new heights, and then just nobody else does it, right? Like, I mean, they're just so far ahead of anybody else. They kind of show what you can do with this controller in the same way that some games like really took advantage of the PS Vita, and then 90% of games did not, right? Same thing here. These games take advantage of the controller and show you it's not just an experience between like you and your screen and you and the game, but also like literally what you're holding in your freaking hand, right? And it's just so rare, because how many games have an experience with what you're actually holding in your hand? You name it to me. Returnal, maybe Returnal, and then Astro's Playroom and Astro Bot. Like, those are my top three, I would say, that use the controller. No other game, most games don't use it at all, like, honestly. So I'm just so impressed with what they did there. But the sound translates to everything, like hearing the bots, and you can go into the visuals as well. Like, the visuals of this game is perfect. I love the colors. I love how vibrant. I love just looking at the bots, right, staring at them for way too long. It's just so good. And then there's like, again, the love of the industry, right? All the collectibles. So when you get these bots, right, you just get them kind of plain, and actually they're fine. Like, getting these bots plain is completely cool. Then you go to the gotcha machine and you pull the lever and you get that, and it just enhances everything. So like Sly gets his cane and the vaults, and Nate will get things, and actually I think Nate gets like that to play the game, literally Uncharted, or as they call it, Dude Raider. Like, I don't know, just so much of this game is a love letter, not just to PlayStation. I mean, it is. It's definitely a love letter to PlayStation, whether it's levels, whether it's characters, whether it's themes, or, being able to use, like, the powers of these PlayStation icons. But then it's also just a love letter to gaming in general, right? Because you'll have characters from all walks of life. You have the Spyros and Crash Bandicoots and all that stuff. They're all here, right? Except for Square Enix. For whatever reason, no Square Enix characters are in this game, and that is quite sad, because I would have loved to see Cloud or Tifa or Aerith, or Like a Sora, I think would have been really cool, like Kingdom Hearts. But, maybe next time. Maybe Square Enix has just told them flat out no, which would be disappointing. But I just had a blast. I mean, that is the best way of putting it. The game is an absolute blast. The game is fun to play. The game has innovative technology, whether it's the controller, whether it's the way that they organically move you from stage to stage, and you always feel like you're doing something new. It never gets stale. It never gets boring. And a lot of games, this is why, by the way, let me throw this out here. I constantly talk about quality over quantity, right? Games that are 50 hours, but say there's 1,000 fetch quests, and for 30 of those 50 hours, you're doing the same thing over and over. It doesn't have to feel bad, but it feels stale. At a certain point, it feels stale. Even, like I said, like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, my game of the year, the story and the characters is what made it like that. I guess the gameplay as well. But there were fetch quests. There were go unlock all of these towers. There was literally doing, as we know of, a basic fetch quests, right? This is why I talk about that, because Astro is quality over quantity. It's short. This is not a long game. This is a game that'll take you, especially if you don't really care about certain things, this might take you 5, 6, 7 hours. To platinum it, it takes you a little bit longer, but this is a game that just is constantly doing new things. It never gets boring. It never gets stale. It's constantly high quality. And you know what? If you made Astro Bot 30 hours, you would lose that because you can't do it for that long. You got to condense it, right? You got to make it like this. So I'm so impressed. I really am. Like, I think to end this video and to end, my final thoughts here, I thought this game was going to be special. I thought this game was going to be really, really good. It's better than I thought it was going to be. That's the best way. I've made 14 videos, maybe 15 videos on Astro Bot leading into its release. You can check the channel. On all of those videos, I was hyped. On all of those videos, I was super excited. The game is everything I thought it was going to be, and then more. That's the best way to describe this game. It is a masterpiece. It is a great game. It's probably top 2, Final Fantasy and Astro Bot, as my game of the year right now, and I think that's phenomenal. So please give me more DLC for this game. Give me more Astro Bot games in general, or just let Team Asobi cook. I mean, these guys are legends. They might be now like top 3, top 4 studios that Sony even has in general. Let them do whatever they want, because you know you're going to get something good. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.